much. Thank you, Senator. So for nearly a decade, I've led investigation after investigation into student loan servicer Navient for its appalling mistreatment of borrowers. In 2015, I called on the Department of Education to crack down on Navient for cheating military families. In 2017, I raised the alarm about Navient's $155 million expansion into the private student loan market. In 2019, I urged the department to fire Navient, and those are just the highlights. Oh, and in 2021, in the first banking subcommittee hearing that I chaired, I questioned Navient's CEO about the servicer's failed record. Later that year, Navient finally left the federal student loan system, and I was proud to help deliver that long overdue win for borrowers. But that was not the end of the road. Ms. Canchola-Banez, you're an expert on the student loan system. After Navient exited the federal student loan system, were borrowers free from misconduct?
Unfortunately, no, Senator. And you're right. The ending of Navient's federal contract was a huge win for borrowers and would not have been possible without your fierce advocacy and fight on behalf of borrowers. But unfortunately, Navient remained a player in the private student loan space and continues to do so to this day. In fact, today it manages private student loans for more than 2.5 million borrowers.
Yeah. So in the early 2000s, Navient, which was then known as Sallie Mae, conspired with fraudulent for-profit schools to push predatory private loans onto students who Navient knew were likely to default. 39 state attorneys general later sued, and Navient agreed to cancel $1.7 billion of predatory loans. But there was a catch. The settlement only applied to borrowers who had already defaulted. So Navient got away with spending only $50 million in relief, having promised $1.7 billion, and they left tens of thousands of borrowers eating dirt. This year, I launched an investigation into Navient's failure to cancel the rest of these predatory private loans. And in response, Navient told me that it was, quote, committed to addressing valid school misconduct claims. Ms. Canchola-Banez, you work with student loan borrowers every day. So I just want to ask you, I'm going to ask you to put this one together. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate Navient's cancellation process for these predatory loans so far?
I would rate it a 0, Senator.
So wait, the scale was 1 to 10 here. So you're going for 0
I'm
even so.
I'm going 0.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Explain why.
You know, we've seen the Department of Education try to streamline these types of cases for misconduct and providing relief for borrowers with federal student loans. Navient had the opportunity to create an automatic, accessible process to provide this relief for private student loan borrowers. Instead, it created a process that's incredibly complex and that everyday borrowers struggle to access.
So there's the deal, right? They could have just canceled the way they promised. Would have been easy, but they make a lot more money if they make it really hard for people to cancel. Now, just last week, in response to my investigation, Navient provided data about its cancellation process for the first time. Navient told me that it sent applications to about 4,000 borrowers, even though at least 65,000 of its borrowers attended for-profit colleges. Even more shocking, of the 1,000 applications that it has processed so far, Navient has rejected 800. In defending the predatory student loans it made, Navient's CEO said, and I quote, "Private student loans are made in good faith." Now, Professor Jimenez, you are an expert in consumer protection law. Is that a fair characterization of Navient's record on private student lending?
Not at all, Senator. Navient knew that it was making loans to people who couldn't repay. Their CEO in 2007 is alleged to have said in court documents that he said, quote, if the borrower can create condensation on a mirror, they need to get a loan this year. They knew what they were doing. Navient now has a responsibility to discharge these loans and to do it as quickly as possible for the millions of students who are suffering.
You know, Republican extremists want to return to the days where borrowers were just at the mercy of predatory servicers like Navient. The Biden-Harris administration has a different vision. Last week, after years of dogged work, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau entered into an historic settlement with Navient, delivering $100 million of relief to cheated borrowers and permanently banning Navient from the federal student loan system. It is long past time for Navient to do the right thing by their countless defrauded borrowers and cancel out these loans for the private student loan borrowers as well. I want to thank you for being here, and I want to thank the chairman for holding this hearing. It's very important, and I will give you back your seat.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much, Senator.